It's just past daybreak in Thurman, West Virginia on a perfect September morning, and we are awaiting a very special locomotive, CSX number 911, the spirit of our first responders. The locomotive today will be running up Loop Creek, so that means we're going to chase it. So come on along for the ride and let's see this thing in action. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to give a shout out to a friend of mine who told me this locomotive is going to be here on this day. I'm not naming names, but you know who you are and you know how grateful I am. Thank you once again. Since this locomotive looks like a fire truck, I think it's time we tell a good old-fashioned fire story while we wait. On Easter Sunday 1937, there was a fire that broke out in town, and someone decided the best way to fight it was to hook a hose up to the water supply at the coaling dock and then run it across the tracks, and that was working until a train came by and sliced the hose into 3 pieces, so that ended that. There they are. I was afraid I was going to figure out something else to say while we were waiting. Alright, here it is, CSX 911.
This is RJ Corman. We'll be stopping before you're ready. Alright, gotcha.
Now what they're doing here, in a lot less words, is that they are simply backing onto their train that's sitting in the siding. They've run around the train, and they are backing onto what was the rear of the train, will now be the head, going back up to the mine. 911 will lead empties to the mine.
Switching our line main to the siding department. CSX only.
Up the line we go to begin our chase. Yeah, I decided I didn't really want to get it in Thurman. I thought this would be a really cool shot and it would give me a chance to view the side of the locomotive really well. While I was waiting here, a Park Service employee was driving into town, I presume, or somewhere near Thurman, and said, "You know, they don't run on this line every day." I said, "Yeah, I know that, but I just saw them coming on here. I know, I was in town earlier. I know they're coming." I thought that was kind of a funny moment. I'm sure they've seen people filming this line before or filming in Thurman, which they know is a busier main line. So just kind of an interesting, funny moment. I kind of got a good kick out of it. Anyway, wasn't that long till the train showed up. Now, I may be a little bit biased, but I think this is hands down one of the best shots I've ever had the privilege to get in my entire life. I love this shot. The early morning feel is still very much in the air. It's not even 9 yet. It's an empty coal train dragging itself up the grade coming out of town. It's a special unit on the head end. You've got Dunlop Creek behind you. There's still some mist. It's just fantastic. I encourage you to just take this in. I'm not going to say a word. Just Take it in. We find ourselves next at Virginia Street in Mount Hope, West Virginia. The train will be crossing the street here, and then continuing on to Sugar Creek Junction, which was once the junction of the Chesapeake and Ohio and the Kanawha Glendian and Eastern Railroad. We'll have more on the KGJ&E later. We move up the line toward Paxton. We are now on the main line of what once was the Kanawha Glendian and Eastern Railroad. Now, a little bit about the KGJ&E. It was built in 1913, well completed in 1913, by Mr. William McKell, who was not at all thrilled with C&O's freight rates and decided, well, I've got the money, I'm going to build my own railroad. And so he did. The railroad wasn't all that big. It was only about 15 miles in length, and then it had about 3 locomotives at one time, and roughly 200 or so coal cars. But you know what? It was really beloved by those it served. It had passenger trains too, and while they were never the cleanest, they were certainly well appreciated by the citizens of the area who used it to get around. The KGJ&E was sold to the Chesapeake and Ohio in 1940. As for the shot selection here, I started thinking, you know, I get out here and I pick the angle that I want for these shots. And generally I like shots that give me more train, but I also like putting the train in its surroundings. And you'll see what I mean later in this video. There's a good example of it. But I started thinking, what happens if you're just driving down the road and you have to turn up this road and the train comes along? Well, let's say you're a rail fan like me. You don't know what, if anything, is special about this train. You just know it's the RJ Corman run back to the mine. And hey, you know what? I want to film it. But I don't have time to go get my angle set up. I just gotta go out and set my tripod up right next to the car. That's basically what this is, except my car is parked not in the middle of the road. I'm standing in the middle of the road, but it's still an interesting shot. At least I think so. Next day, I was back in Thurman hoping to catch the runaround move that will put 911 facing east, set up at the location of the old Hotel Thurman. And I got a chance to meet some lovely people from Georgia here, and I hope they enjoy if they see this video. It was nice meeting you guys. So what they'll be doing here is they'll be taking the CSX engines and running around the train, so that 3088, which was leading the train down here, will be facing back toward the loaded coal, and 911 will be leading the train east to Newport News, Virginia. Now this is also the example I gave of placing the train in its environment when I shoot. That old coaling tower there, built by Fairbanks Morse in 1922, that's a symbol of Thurman. How cool is it to me, and that's why I filmed in this spot, to place an old coaling tower, 100 years old this year, with a modern locomotive. Yes, 911 isn't brand new, but it's still a modern diesel electric locomotive. Not a steam locomotive that coaling tower was built to serve. I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but how can you not think that's cool?
Oh, it is, yeah. But what a lot of people distribution.
So what we've done now is we've
Oh,
aligned
yeah.
that switch back for the siding, and we can back those two engines down onto their train and get this thing ready to roll on east. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure showing you this special locomotive in the hills of West Virginia. Be sure to hit that like button down below if you like the video. Leave a comment if you are so inclined. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And that bell will be notified when a new video gets posted. Until next time, somewhere out in the railroad, I'm Lucas Berry for White Oak Rail. It's called White Oak Rail.
White Oak Rail. She'll add you to YouTube. We watch
I
YouTube.
much appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, we watch YouTube a good bit at home.
Running TV.